to not think it's finished when you've finished writing all the words. I want you to go back and say, where can I change and polish and make better, so that we're really nailing home the concept, so that it's fluid, it feels, you know, like it's a storyline. You read it down, it makes sense. It makes sense as if you had read it the very first time. So, how many of you write from title? From the title? From the get-go? 2 of you? Okay. Do you get, those of you who drive, do you get in your car with a blindfold on and not know where you're driving to? You need to know where you're going when you're writing a song. And I've done this. When I started writing songs, I wrote from the top down in the hope that I might stumble across a really cool title or lyric or concept. But I've learned over the years that if you write from a title, it's going to be a lot more, make a lot more sense. It's going to be a lot more connected. Those are the songs that have been crafted, and other songs that, you know, have become hits, because you know we're, you know when a storyline completely makes sense and every line in it honors the title. You get down to that title or the payoff line and you go, it's that feeling of going, yeah, this feels and connects on a really emotional level. It's also really useful. I'm just doing a few notes first before we start playing some songs and deconstructing some hits. And that's a really, really great exercise, like Rich did with melody. Deconstructing is, you're going to learn so much from, you know, what the mechanics are of the song. And I believe that songwriting is a mix of art, science, and math. You know, there are formulas, we've done the formulas. We've done the counting and the syllables, the counting of syllables. It's a very instinctual thing. And your imagination, of course, your imagination drawing pictures. So, the other thing that I wanted to say is, and it's not something you would normally think of, but we all speak, we all have a rhythm to our speech. We talk in a very unique way, all of us talking in a unique way. Singing and writing songs, start being aware of how you speak and the way your conversation is, because that's your natural rhythm, and use that in your songwriting. You have emphasis on a certain side of words. That will help you and your uniqueness come through.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on that, because
Yeah.
I think that's vital. I think when you read back a lyric rather than singing it, sometimes you can start to spot issues in terms of rhythmic quality. Because when you read something, almost like poetry, it has its natural bounce in terms of where the emphasis is on each of the words. And sometimes when we sing things, we put the emphasis in the wrong place because we're trying to match that lyric to a rhythm and melody that we've created before we've written that lyric. So you'll see the natural rhythm of it when you read it, and then you'll sing it and go, oh, hang on a second, I put the stress in completely the wrong part of the word because I'm trying to fit that word to the rhythm and the melody that we wrote prior to writing the lyric. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And sometimes it sounds cool,
yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't, it just sounds off.
Yeah. It's like 75-25. 75% of the time it's going to sound terrible. It's terrible, but just disjointed. Again, it's like there's running and then somebody trips you up and you stumble and you never ever kind of find yourself writing yourself. Think of that lyrically, really, in terms of singability. And the other 25% of the time, it will be something super cool and you go, oh, that feels great. So
there was a Demi Lovato song, I think it was like Unconditional or something.
Yeah.
She sang it. Really weird. I did not like it. Just felt so unnatural. So you know, however you naturally speak, put that into your phrasing, right? I was looking this morning before I came here, thinking about lyricists over time that have been so unique in their writing styles. Bob Dylan, his vocabulary, right? It's very detailed storylines, really intelligent writing. John Lennon with his wordplay. Eminem's descriptive and hard-hitting, honest lyrics. Alana's shockingly honest. When Alana's came out, I didn't like her at first. I thought, wow, this girl's like super angry and pissed off. And later, after, you know, hearing the album over and over and over again, I was like, wow, she's really changed. Because people changed their writing style because of her, I believe. She really changed.
I mean, she gave, I think what she was great about it, she gave girls a reason to be unafraid to tell the truth.
Yeah.
She was angry at that guy, and she wrote a whole fucking record about it, and rightly so. And I think it became this point where it's okay, because guys have been doing it for years, you know what I mean? It's okay for girls to get mad and do it in a song, and I think and it connected on such a huge global level that became the biggest selling record, but pretty much nearly of all time, really, in terms of what it did in that year. Everybody had that
22 million
record.
or something, whatever it was.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Freddie Mercury, really imaginative, making up words and just incredible. Joni Mitchell, visual and compelling with her lyrics. And Paul Simon, really emotionally connected. So figure out where you fit in and what kind of lyricist you want to be. What is your style?
Yeah.
So, so what makes a song a hit? There are lots of elements into making a song a hit. Sometimes it's an accident. First lines are really important. You want to pull in your listener with something that's going to be shocking or unusual. Try and be compelling in the way you write your lyrics. I know it's not easy. You know, we don't want a general lyric. We want to dig deep. We want to know how you feel about life and who you are underneath. You know, we were talking about this yesterday about getting really. Well, firstly, how amazing music is and how healing and connecting. It connects through every medium. We don't even have to speak the same language. We can feel it. It's all about the feeling and what you want to make people feel with your music. So let's look at 4 common elements that are often found in hit songs. A strong and simple concept that uses a fresh and unique approach. Okay? It could be the same title you've seen 100 times before, but it's the approach. Remember we talked about the angle of going in and telling a story from a really different angle, and it's a really hard thing to do. I think lyric writing is much harder than melody writing, because, you know, if you could sing, writing a melody is a lot easier than writing a really compelling, unique lyric that you haven't heard before. A universal appeal, so millions of people connect to it. And pretty straightforward. Emotion, that we can all relate on a human level, and that is so important. If there was one thing here I'd say that is the most important, it's the emotion. We want to feel your song. And I think I mentioned this a couple days ago, your senses. We're human beings. Remember that if you bring in your senses, your body, your feelings, your thoughts, we've all got them, right? So that's how we can connect. Memorable lyrical hooks that keep the listener engaged and singing along. We did all the vocally stuff. Hooks hooks. You can never get enough hooks.
Yeah, ever.
So, gonna play this song. And this artist, Olivia Rodrigo, who you all know.
Sharp intake of breath.
I'm sure
Love
you
it.
all know. She's got a really great style of connecting to girls her age, of saying how, of really expressing herself.
Do you want me to play the song?
Yeah, please.
Okay, here we go.
This is my favorite song.
To her, maybe did even worse. I kept quiet so I could keep you. And ain't it funny how you were in a hurry the second that we called it quits? And ain't it funny how you said you were friends? Now it sure as hell don't look like it. You betrayed me.
So she says it in a really fresh way. Betraying somebody, it might not mean sexually betraying somebody, that she actually did the act. It was mentally, and I've never heard that said in that way before. The descriptive lyrics, brown guilty eyes, little white lies. I play dumb, but I always knew. There's no doubt you know how she feels, right? Really connected. Really conversational. Anything else you guys can see there, that lyrically, that jumps out to you?
Very simple.
Super simple.
Super simple.
The melodies are all pretty, count those syllables, very repetitive melody.
It's simple, but it's effective.
Simple and effective.
Like, it's simple, but it's effective.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My favorite line is, I kept quiet so I can keep you.
Yes.
Yeah, love that line.
Right?
Like, it says so much and just like a
Mm-hmm.
Really, really great. And also the rhyming is very, very, it's not perfect rhyme. It's imperfect rhyme. But it works together, matter. That doesn't really rhyme, but it's the syllables of those rhymes.
And there's an interesting mechanic here, I don't know if you noticed it. Ain't it funny how you ran to her the second that we called it quits? Ain't it funny how you said you were friends? Now sure as hell don't look like it.
Yes.
She had to pull that out, and in most cases we would sit there and go, hang on a second, that's not fucking work. But it does, you know what I mean? She pulls that phrase out because she needs to add the extra syllables, because you can see those two, that second and third line are way different in terms of length. Still kind of has a very cohesive relationship to each other, but it gives her a chance to pull that phrase out to make it feel like we're just about to go somewhere else. So the mechanic works really, really well. Now, is that a conscious thing? I have no idea because I wasn't in the room. But it really, really works, because they could have done it exactly the same repeat in terms of the actual syllable count here, certainly on that last line. And she makes it, pulls it out, and still maintains the rhyme. So she still gets it and quits together.
Exactly, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a great trick, because especially just before a new section.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's not bitter, and it's said in a bitter way that you don't like her. It's said in a really compassionate way where I feel empathy for her, and sarcastic way, right? So, and you can relate to that.
And everybody, I mean, this is all about, again, this is actually, when you look at the lyric and you start digging past what's being said, there's a lot of really important things that we've all dealt with, which is sometimes you're trying to protect yourself from the hurt that you are going to feel when you say goodbye by staying in a relationship that you know is damaging, because that pain is at least knowable, as opposed to the pain that you're going to feel that is unknowable once you say goodbye. So these lines, which is like the line you picked out, Ruby, I kept quiet so I could keep you. Because it's like, I don't want to say anything because I know that will ruin this, and we're going to, even though I know you're possibly cheating on me. And then this line down here, which is, I loved you at your worst, but that didn't matter. So there's so many kind of like ins to what this relationship's about, and we can all relate, because I think, well, probably most of us, some of you may be a bit too young yet to have experienced this sort of issue, but I know most of you probably have, and it could be even a parental thing sometimes. Parents can be a nightmare. This is a really simple lyric, but it's talking about actually a really dark thing that we've all done in our lives, which is stay in a relationship, and then of course it does end.
The payoff is fantastic.
Yeah.
You didn't cheat, but you're still a traitor.
Yeah.
That just does it for me. It gets there and I go, oh yes,
Yeah.
you know, and it feels like she knew what that title was before she even started, because she led you to it. She led you to it from the top down.
And there's a writer in the US called Billy Mann. He's an amazing writer. He's written a lot of great hits for Pink and Celine Dion and a whole bunch of others. He always says the first line of your first verse should tell you really what the title's about.
Right.
And if you traitor, brown Gucci eyes and little white lies, well, that's traitor, right? That's traitorous.
Yes.
So it's interesting that line tells you about what the title's about, right?
In my opinion, these aren't even the best lyrics in the song. Like, because at the end it goes like, God, I wish that you had thought this through before I went and fell in love with you.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That part is like,
The
Yes.
bridge, yeah.
that part hits so
Yes.
hard.
Yeah, it really does.
And then when she does that slide, like up. Like
Sure.
that, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
thanks.
really
It's
good.
helpful that she has an amazing voice. You know?
Yeah,
To
we didn't
emote.
play the whole thing
Yeah.
just because we don't have time. But all right, the second one, which is
Here we go.
Universal Appeal. So this song, it was quite a few years ago now, but I think you will remember it. It was a hit everywhere.
Oh my God.
Everywhere, because it was so infectious. Every school in the world, I think, played this on graduation day.
Oh.
I don't know whether you are. You'll know it. Let's play it.
It's gonna be Secret Song by Charlie Puth.
Somebody say I hate this song.
I hate this song.
Such a good song.
This is my first solo in choir. I hated it.
Oh really? Well, there you go. See, totally understand. Anyway, try to remove that from your soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at the lyric.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy I'm alone if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy I'm alone if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy I'm alone if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy I'm alone if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Give me all you got, don't hold it back.
So this is a vibe, right? It just the music. I think even without the lyric, He could probably have just complete nonsense up there, and it would
Yeah, it
probably would have been a
bounced
hit.
it, yeah.
How many songs have we heard about happy? A lot, right? It's not a new concept. But look at it, look at the lines that, you know, I mean, actually the verses are a little bit of nonsense, really. It's not like,
no
they
flow.
don't really make
Oh,
that
no,
much sense. But when it gets to the chorus, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Have you ever heard it said like that before? No, it's a little bit different, it's quirky. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. That's kind of cool, I've never heard that said either. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. He repeats that line almost and just changes it up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that, I would have put a new line in there. But it works. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. It's all about the vibe of the song. And just saying things a little bit different.
Yeah, I think I mean, apart from the melody is just bonkers good. I mean, really, from the get-go, you exactly know what's going on. It helps this claps in along, because clapping is a human togetherness thing. That's why in commercials they put lots of claps and things like that, because it means everybody's come together. It's great, this product's amazing, you should love it. You know? So clapping is a very much a thing that humans do together as a group. But these lines, much they're nonsensical, you do understand what it means. I might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. We all know when the sun comes out, we go crazy, right? We all run outside and this is fun.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling, yeah? I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. That's a feeling. That's a feeling described as an actual physical thing, right? With the air, like, I don't care, baby, by the way. So, like, we know this is all about freedom, letting go, getting out in the sun and having a good time.
So this is not specifically like a brilliant lyric, but it's the sum of all the parts that make it great and universal.
Happy songs are really, really hard to write without them sounding cheesy. And this does dance near the fromage shop, you know what I mean? It gets really close. They're looking through the window, all the cheeses, so they never really walk in, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, some people could see this as a cheesy song, but it wasn't. It was unapologetically happy and upbeat. And that's why the video was so fantastic as well. It was just people, kids dancing around. It's, you know, I talk about nail it.
There was that song of Justin Timberlake. Was it Sunshine in My Pocket? What was that song?
Oh yeah, that was from Trolls, right?
Yeah, that was another happy song. I mean, I didn't particularly like that song, but it was really universal, you know, universally recognised and a big hit.
And it's a dance song, and when people dance, they feel kind of happy. I think generally, we were happy last night when we danced.
That was fun.
That was fun.
All right.
Any questions on any of this so
anything?
far?
No.
Brilliant. I like it.
Okay. Emotion that we can all relate to on a human level. Wow, this song that we're going to play, we actually changed this up a couple of days ago because we were talking about this guy. We both know the guy that wrote this song. He wrote it on his own. He's been to one of our camps before and mentored, and we just saw him in Hawaii. Greg Holden is his name, and he's such an incredible lyricist and artist. He's not made it big as an artist.
No, he's had a massive hit as a writer. Have you ever heard of the song called Home by Philip Phillips? It was a huge hit in the US. I'm not sure if it was. He was a US Idol winner, Philip Phillips, and it was the biggest song that Idol have ever had, and that's versus Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Ann Underwood, and all that. So.
Who's the guy that cut this recently? Not Lewis.
No, it wasn't Lewis Cordy.
but
Callum Scott.
No, it wasn't Callum Scott. Now it was so this song wasn't a super big hit, but we wanted to use this as an example of emotion because it hits so hard when he sings this song live, and we're playing his version, right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't suppose there's a way we could get the video up so they can see singing this.
But then we can't see the lyric at the same time,
Oh,
so
no.
they should see the lyric.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Um,
Do you want to just talk about how
Yeah.
he came up with the song? 'Cause you
Yeah,
know the
I've
story.
known Greg a long time. I knew Greg before he had his massive hit, and he was a struggling artist like yourselves. And we'd written a couple of songs at the time, and I got to tell you just a quick story about collaboration. Greg, I was his first collaboration, first significant collaboration, not in terms of, he'd written it with a couple of people, but this one that was set up by his publisher at the time, and his manager. And the first thing he said to me, he's from the UK, but he's lived a lot of the time in New York and then moved to LA. And he now lives in Portland. First thing he said to me, he said, "I hate collaborations." That was the first thing he said to me. And I thought, oh God, this is going to be fun. But we hit it off, we're both Brits, which really, really helped. And then he had this amazing, huge, massive hit. But this particular song, he'd done this before. There was a charity record that was being put out by a support group for LGBTQ+, and they'd asked him to write another song for a CD they were releasing to raise money for their support group. And he did. And this was the result of it. And then he did an acoustic version of it, and then he ended up cutting it for real when he got his deal with Warner Brothers. And Greg Wells produced this song. I don't know if you know who Greg Wells is. He's worked with Adele. I mean, he's worked with everybody. He's a massive producer and songwriter. Yeah. So this song is called Boys and... So we're going to play the whole
whole thing because
you've
you
got to hear
need to hear the whole song.
Yeah, get your tissues out.
And the story line.
And then we'll talk a bit more on the flip side as well.
You see that?
No, I can't.
When I was younger, my daddy told me I would never amount to nothing special. He'd come at me from every angle. He'd say, "You're the last thing I wanted, the last thing I need. How am I gonna answer when my friends tell me my son was kissing boys in the street? My son was kissing boys in the street. He tried to change me, say I'm embarrassing my country. How could I do this to my family? Do I want to grow up being lonely?" He'd say, "We've worked for our money, we've put you in school. Is this how you repay us? Do you think this is cool, my son? Stop kissing boys in the street. My son, stop kissing boys in the street."
Time to digest. Space, right?
Now that I'm older, my daddy's heart's a little warmer, but he still won't hug me like my brother, and he still won't kiss me like my mother. He'd say, "You were part of this family, I made you myself, but the way that you act isn't good for your health, my son. Stop kissing boys in the street. My son, stop kissing boys in the street." because for once we are not fighting. He'd say, there was no way of knowing, cause all I was taught is men only love women. But now I'm not sure, my son. Keep kissing boys in the street, my son. Keep kissing boys in the street. When I'm gone, keep kissing boys in the street.
Oh, shit.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't that just heartbreakingly beautiful? You know, it covers so much on a human level. It covers so much.
Yeah.
Shame, acceptance, life, forgiveness.
Parental issues. You know, there's so much going on in this record. And for Greg to approach something like this, he's not a gay man, he's a straight guy. I think it was amazing they went to him and gave him, you know, the chance, because they really felt he would be able to write a song
That's
from that
amazing.
perspective.
That he hasn't written that from a personal...
No,
That's
but
incredible.
what I do know about Greg is he has a horrible relationship with his father and stepfather.
Right.
So, and you can read into all of this a problem with a parent, right? And I think we've talked about this during some of the sessions, which is, how do I connect to something that I don't really have a personal kind of connection to in terms of what you're writing about? We've all felt certain things, and he brought all of that into here, I think. And I think he did it beautifully, obviously. It's heartbreaking. You've seen him perform it live. It's just every time. I think we've all cried every single time we've seen him play.
Okay.
And so it's a beautiful song. It's not got a chorus, really.
No, that's what I was
It's
going
one
to say.
section,
It's one
the structure.
Yeah.
It's just really, it's this like A-B situation. So it's really the payoff lines to the boys, you
The
know, kissing
refrain.
boys and the refrain at the end
Yeah.
of each line. And the pause is vital because we're getting a lot of repeating of the same thing. Moving up into the higher register, so he goes up the octave. So, and thank God Greg's got this amazing voice. So, and the payoff again at the end, hope, redemption. I think
Yes.
these are all
Forgiveness.
amazing things to bring in, which is like, that's heartbreaking, that's even more heartbreaking.
He would have planned this out. So there's a lifeline in this. He's planned out the
storyline,
lifeline. You know,
timeline, yeah.
verse 1, what's going on from that young age. It's moved on, and there's a journey.
Yeah. It's an amazing song.
That's why we want you to dip in to what you're going through. Because firstly, it's cathartic, it's therapy, songwriting, getting out all these emotions that are maybe stuck or dragging you down. This is the perfect way of expressing yourself. This is why you're here.
And the one thing I do want to add on to that is that the songs that you write about a very personal thing, don't try and hang it like I've got to get it completely right.
Yes.
By saying if I don't do it right, it will never really honour either what I'm going through or the things that I'm trying to write about. You will write many, many songs about the same thing.
And you mean the exact details.
Yeah, exact details.
You don't have to, it doesn't have to be exactly, you know,
But
on
some
the
people
nose.
like to write, we've had examples of people writing songs about a parent or a significant other or who's died, and they try and make this perfect song about this moment in time. I think don't try to get perfect there. Bring in all the details and the things you need to do and the emotions you feel, but don't try and beat yourself up trying to construct them. And I'm not mean perfectly in terms of melody and lyric, because you'll write about that moment in time over and over again. You'll write it from a different angle, a different perspective. You'll bring, like he brought his father's relationship into this particular song. You'll write another song which would be about the poor relationship he had with his parent, his step-parent. but it will be wrapped into another song. So you'll always have a chance to rewrite that experience into other songs.
Yeah, you've got
I'm
the
hoping
poetic.
I'm making sense.
No, you've got the poetic freedom. I think that's
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Yeah.
To make sure that you honour the song is, as Rich says, the most important thing in the room. You know, the actual details of what happened. It doesn't have to be exactly on the nose. It just has to sound right, and obviously bringing rhyming stuff, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So, yeah, that song is.
You should go and listen to more Greg. He's
Yeah,
really
he's
good.
really super songwriter.
So I'm just really grateful for the fact you're sending me home a fucking basket case. I haven't cried this much in years.
Yeah, and I was saying this to you last night, Kat. I was saying, if you're not getting emotional in the room, then you're probably not doing it right. You know, we want you to dig deeper and really get to the bottom of your heart.
And emotion can be jumping up and down, dancing and having a good time and smiling and laughing a lot.
Yeah.
That's an emotion. It's not all about crying and the whole God world's terrible. You know, there's balance to all of that, you know, so just make sure that if you're doing a song about one particular emotion, that you're pushing it into an area where it makes everybody feel something, whether it mean great happiness or great sadness. They're all equally valid.
All right, so memorable lyrical hook. This song is packed with them. I know one of the songwriters. We know both know Sam Hollander, who has just written a book. Actually, he's a really great guy. I think it's 21 hit wonder. He's had a lot of hits. He's a big songwriter in LA. Actually, he's just moved back to the East Coast. He wrote this for Panic at the Disco, and you know this song, I'm sure.
I love that song.
Massive hit.
Is that you again, Lacey? Was it?
No.
Oh, you. Okay.
I like
It's
this.
the hateful twins over there.
Overplayed.
Did you sing this in the choir too? Is that the reason why?
No,
you
it
did
was
that?
one of my graduation songs actually.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
It's
this,
so overplayed.
so this is the thing, because I had a big hit that was overplayed, and people got like, oh no, not that song again. It can get that far. I remember when Celine Dion was like having hit after hit after hit and being played and played and played.
Yeah.
It can be played too much, but man, if you were the writer of the song, you'd be very happy.
All right, here we go. This is my hopes. I'm sure you already know, especially you.
Book Central.
Yes.
Catchy.
Catchy, repetitive, very good. It's got lots and lots of repetition in here. And it's kind of set in a different way. High hopes for a living. Anyone hear that before? You know, there's some really great lines in here. Shooting for the stars when I couldn't make a killing. Didn't have a dime, but I always had a vision. Lots of rhyme. And not perfect rhyme. High high hopes everywhere. The verses, Mama said. You know, it's not really touching in a shallow way. It's touching in a pretty deep way. It's got some great words in there. Fulfill the prophecy. Be something greater. Go make a legacy. Manifest destiny. These songs are hard to write, by the way. These uplifting kind of, you know.
Yeah, go, be great, and
Yeah,
because they become
be
very
amazing.
preachy if you're not
There's
careful.
so many songs out there that are like that. Anything else you recognize?
So the lyric here gets really. Mama said, "Burn your biographies, rewrite your history," which I think is a really cool line.
Yeah.
Because again, would you say that ever? Okay, I'm going to go out and burn all the biographies I've got in my. You don't. You would never say that ever in a line. So it's really twisting. Light up your wildest dreams. Museum victories.
Yeah,
every
that
day.
line is really like, wow.
Yeah.
Museum.
What goes into a museum?
Memorabilia.
The best of everything.
Ah.
Yes.
Right? Things that are extraordinarily beyond anything else. All the best art ends up in a museum. Well, sometimes. I've been to some museums.
That's pretty.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what that means, that line. Museum victories every day. In other words, something that's going to be so great it's going to end up in a museum.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting way
Yeah.
of saying that, you
Really
know?
good.
And then, of course, you think this is such a cheap song. It's all blah blah blah.
It's very commercial,
Yeah.
but that's what they do. This.
But you can all relate to that. Don't give up. It's a little complicated. It's all tied up. No more love, and I hate to see you. And it's they see you waiting. It's brilliantly done
Yeah.
because that's a parent going. I think you go out and make something of yourself in the world.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's
But again,
really-
structurally, it's different. That like
It starts with the chorus, which
Yeah.
is a great trick.
Yeah.
A really great trick. Because by the time you get to the second chorus, you already know it, right?
And I think it would have been weird starting in that verse because I think it's quite long, and I think it would have taken a while
Yes.
because there's that kind of very pausal type setup in the pre-chorus, which is that Mama said, "Don't give up, it's a little complicated," which is a beautiful way. I mean, melodically, it's just again, it's telling you, here we go, something new's coming. We already know what the new is because we've already heard it. But it's a very clever song, love it or hate it. You know?
It's been crafted. You can
Yeah.
tell it's been crafted. It hasn't just been thrown together.
And some beautiful arrangement ideas in here.
Yes.
That kind of like slide down glissando string line that goes in the verses, and it's got a beautiful string arrangement in the pre-chorus as well. So there's lots of things, and then the kind of almost cheesy synthy brass at the beginning.
Starts at the
you know?
beginning, yeah.
So it's all has its kind of vibe and duck and dive, in terms of production as well.
And that can make a song really iconic by starting out with an instrumental theme. With Jeannie.
Yeah.
It started with that, that piano. And as soon as, you're in the first bar, you go, oh, I know this song. You know it from the very start. So let's go on to the next slide and look at rhyme. I mean, you guys, I'm not teaching you to suck eggs, but you guys kind of know this. Holds the listener's attention. This is what rhyme does. It makes the lyrics more memorable, sweetens the listening experience, and completes the idea. I mean, we were in a room yesterday, I think it was Tully's room, and you knew already before I even said it that there was a line that didn't rhyme, that needed to rhyme, right? You knew it just instinctively, because you just get to the end of that verse, and I think it was an I rhyme or something like that. You needed it just to feel right. It's an instinctual thing. Types of rhymes. I think we're just going through, pretty straightforward stuff. Perfect rhyme, find kind behind, imperfect, time, align, shine. It's not exactly the same, but you'll sometimes find that imperfect rhyme is so much better than perfect rhyme, because perfect rhyme, it's needed sometimes.
Sometimes it can sound cheesy.
It just sounds cheesy.
Yeah.
Internal, if you feel it's real within a sentence, that can sometimes be a great trick on a third line or fourth line in verse. Masculine rhyme is the last syllable. About, without, feeling, sing. So it's just the end of a word. And the feminine is the emphasis preceding the last syllable. Lover, discover, leave, believe, achieve. Triple rhyme, lavishing, ravishing, confusion, delusion. It's all pretty
And
straightforward.
by the way, today you have to write a song with lavishing and ravishing.
Those words.
Those two words, if they're not in there, you failed.
So don't sacrifice the meaning of your song just to force a rhyme. It's got to feel right. As you know, some songs hardly have any rhyme in them, and somehow they work. So just trust your instinct and your ear. And we're going to play a song that literally, I think we discussed this song yesterday. Ed Sheeran's 18.
18.
He literally throws the book of rhyme at the song in a way that if I was in that room with him, I would have gone, Ed, there's a little too much A in this song. But it's such a masterclass in rhyme.
Mm.
And beautifully constructed, very poetic.
Very poetic. Yeah.
Oh, I know why. Because I turned the volume down. My apologies. I'm not a DJ like Sam, obviously.
Listing is really great.
White lips, pale face, breathing in snowflakes, burnt lungs, sour taste. Lights gone, days end, struggling to pay rent, long nights, strange men. They say she's in the class 18, stuck in her daydream. Been this way since 18, but lately her face seems slowly sinking, wasting, crumbling like pastries. And they scream the worst things in life come free to us, 'cause we're just under the upper hand. I'm going mad for a couple grams, and she don't wanna go outside tonight. And in a pipe she flies to the motherland, or sells love to another man. It's too cold outside for angels to fly. For angels to fly.
What do you guys notice?
Ripped gloves, raincoats.
Some things that you notice about the song.
The description.
How descriptive it is. You see that? Oh, and really,
Yeah. It's
absolutely.
there's no like A-B rounds, it's just A.
There's a lot of A rhymes. Oh, actually, he does do some C's and pastries, scream. But he overdoes it almost on the rhymes, right? What else?
It's just brilliantly done.
Such a brilliantly put together
Brilliantly
song.
done.
Anything else? What's the story about?
Meth addiction. Meth. Yeah.
A woman who is a prostitute and is on meth or coke.
No, it's Coke for sure.
Coke.
Is it Coke?
Oh yeah.
Breathing and smoking.
Couple grams.
Yeah, that's the clue right there.
Goes meth for a couple grams.
But then
Grams.
pipe in the so because my son like it.
We crack is Coke.
Crack.
Yeah, so
Coke.
this is at this time
Cocaine.
meth really wasn't a thing.
Wasn't a thing.
Yeah, because this is like he wrote this when he was like 17.
Mm.
Yeah, very
But I love that in a pipe.
On
She
his
flies
own.
to the motherland. Like you just get it.
And listing. Listing is such a great way of writing. It's very visual. It's very sensual. You can feel it with your senses, right?
And visual, like the crumbling, the face,
Crumbling.
crumbling
I
like
mean,
face.
it's
Crumbling
beautiful
like
just when he
pastries.
talks about that later on in the song as well. There's this amazing moments here of just the desperation within this person's life. I think it's amazing that he was able to write this song and make you feel empathy for this person. You know, because if people look at drug addicts and prostitutes and go, ah, fuckers, you know what I mean? I mean, not all of them, not everybody does, but this is we have no idea how she got where she's got, but you feel sorry for this person. There's so much empathy in here. You want to wrap them up in a warm blanket and say, we need to get you out of this place and try and help you, you know?
And in third person, it's hard to do that with, you know, feel compassion when you're just narrating. He's the narrator. He's not even in it.
Yeah, it's third person.
There's no
all the way
eyes.
through.
Third person. So yeah, a really awesome. He's such a master songwriter, this guy. But as a teenager,
I know, crazy, honey.
to have written this,
Yeah.
Yeah, pushing those rhymes to the ultimate degree. Say, teen, dream, 18 seams, wasting pastries, scream. I mean, it's pushing the rhyming to a point where when the release comes to another ending vowel sound, it's a nice release, and he does it to the point where you think, oh my God, you pushed it to the very end of its limit. But it's very smart songwriting. I'm not sure if he was thinking smart, but he's just a really good writer.
great storyteller.
And when you think about this song and compare it to what I played on Monday, in terms of what his songwriting has done and where it's transitioned to.
Bad Habits.
Yeah, Bad Habits, you know, it's a very, very different kind of style in terms of what he's doing these days.
Yeah, he's definitely he's such a commercial writer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
No, we've done that.
Oh, okay.
Is that the end?
Oh no, are we doing this one?
Next song?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to play this just for repetition's sake. I love this song. Rag and Bone Man. Don't know
I
who
love
you-
him.
Do you know who he is? Yeah, did you get him in Australia? And this was written by a friend of ours, Jamie Hartman.
Yeah.
I think he wrote it with him.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We'll just play a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
I've still got a little bit to do for the artist brief
yes.
segment, so
Sorry.
it's gonna be a long morning, so take a little break, enjoy the break before the guys come.
Is this a hit over here? Yeah?
No.
I've heard this song.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind. I can see through this and see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Take a look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer? How do you see? In what you believe? 'Cause I'm only human after all. And you're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Oh, some people got a real problem. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve them. But Lord, heaven above, I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me.
What does he do at the beginning of the song?
Introduces like the time.
Gives you a little taster of the
Yeah.
chorus, what's to come, right?
Yeah.
Just, it's a great trick. Doesn't do the whole chorus, just a little taster of it. What else? What else did you notice in here?
Repetitive.
Mm.
I love
Melodies
his
are
melodies really good.
Super strong.
In
Obviously the
every-
repetition.
And the short lines and the rhyme through the, like
Yeah.
it's a real
the same
hit,
thing in
hit,
18,
hit.
just the A, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The going up the octave,
Yeah.
you know, some people got the real problems.
Yeah.
I mean, he said humans so many times.
Yeah, it's all good verses.
You know, and it's often the sum of the parts, it's not just the lyric. obviously the melody is so memorable.
I think it's cool that his hook is the one that doesn't rhyme. Everything else rhymes, but then his hook doesn't, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, so have everyone heard the word prosody? Do you know what prosody is?
Nope.
Prosody is matching the mood of the song and the melody, the music, to the lyric. There are exceptions where, you know, you'll like hear a really happy tune and then a sad lyric on top. But it most often works a lot better if you've got, you know,
Matching time.
a matching tone with the lyric and the music. Okay, we're just going to run through, because we've got our mentors today coming in very soon, and we're going to probably take another hour.
Yeah.
I know you guys probably just going to want to stand up for that. So we're going to write lyrics to an artist brief today.
Right.
Did we have any slides on this after that?
I don't think so.
Okay, so just want, I want you to focus on a few things, right? If you're really not feeling it and you don't want to write to an artist brief, that is absolutely fine. But this is an opportunity as well, because these are real briefs, real artist briefs, that if you come up with a song that is superb and we feel it's got legs and is right for this artist, we can pitch it. And there's some really cool, I need to send them to Cheryl, but yeah, you'll get sent these briefs in a little while. So remember, you're up against the top songwriters in the world, okay? So it's got to be exceptional. It's a competitive market.
And you're all capable, by the way, just so you know. You've displayed some amazing writing over the last 2 days. What happened in day one versus what happened in day two, it was a huge leap for all of you, you know, in terms of how far you got and some of the ideas that you were pushing yourselves into. Day three, I told you you're going to be pushing this barrier out, you know, this kind of comfort zone of yours, which is probably, I'm not saying it's small, but just to describe, because I don't have very big arms, which is probably out here, but you know, it's there, and then you've pushed it out here. Your comfort level has moved into another place. By the end of today, it's going to be out here, and you're going to continue to do that. The more you co-write, the more you collaborate, the more you push yourself into uncomfortable areas where you think, I've never done this before. But guess what? You're really capable, amazing writers, so you've got every chance of banging an absolute massive song out.
So 3 things to focus on. Research your artist. When you get, you can actually, I think there's links on this actual page that you can listen to their music. If you can, if you want to dig a little deeper and find out what's kind of going on in their lives, if there's stuff online, you know, obviously you'll see the kind of titles that they've used, the kind of language that they've used. Oh, it is.
I didn't think the brief was up.
Oh, okay.
Certainly what
Yeah,
to do.
so research their past work. Listen to any references that are given, musical references. Pay attention to type of concepts, vibes, feeling of music, and the production for the artist. And think ahead of the curve. It's, you know, throwing that curveball in and going, okay, well, they've done this. Maybe they might talk about this. Something, obviously, that connects on a universal level.
And also you're bringing your own perspective to it, again, remember? So it'll be your vision of these ideas, but with your perspective, which will add that little extra something to it.
And something with a fresh lyrical approach. It's what most A&R people, what we talked about today, finding that angle in there that's maybe not been said before.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Any questions? None? Bloody hell, well done. Well, Pam, fantastic.
We're around. Thank you. We're around all day. Obviously, you know, you want to, ask any questions. Go take a toilet break, get a glass, but don't go outside. Keep around because we're going to get the guys in to come to the process.
With the like emotion and universal law, do you have to have all of them, or is it okay to just have like one or two?
No, what I was talking about was having all four.
Okay.
Those four things are, if you sort of dissect most big hit songs, you'll find those four things. That's the exception. How do we find it?
Oh, come on in, the Robert name. Have you met Paul Gildea? You know my Robert. Robert, years ago, 3 years ago, at Dundas Street. Come on in.
Hey there, how'd you go?
Good, thanks.
Good, yeah? Very well. Should do. I don't, I live in LA. Yeah, that's how come I got to meet. Wrote together a lot of
No, he's coming.
Yeah, I'm that rich. Not just some random dude that came down to breakfast. Who the fuck is this mate?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't make that connection.
No, not at all.
Where we should yourself?
Do you need power at all, do you think?
You know
There's
what?
power there, yeah, you do.
So what's...
That's all just to connect you to the TV. And we'll get that set up. So it should be fine. Set it up.
So we're just going off this audio, right?
No, they do audio. Oh no, you have to go to preferences, classes, and then just choose the TV, the Philips TV for that.
Do what you need to do.
So where do you want me to go?
No, preferences, yeah.
And,
Go to audio. Sounds, as they like to call it, just there. And then just output. Oh no, he won't stay out. For some reason.
we all have our bad songs and our bad days.
You
You sure? Yeah, that's fine.
And this is just mirroring.
I can do that. Oh my god, is it going to be okay?
So that's how you want that straight, or we can set this up.
No, it's fine, because we're just
Oh yeah, I've seen
Yeah, brilliant. You can just control it from now and that's mirrored. Brilliant.
So you're an Englishman, also?
I am, yeah, from London originally. I moved to the States in 2002. Wing of the Prayer. I was in a band in the UK. Studios. Oh, I was unsigned, unfortunately. We never made it, so we got close all the time. So I was writing and producing other band. Keys, guitar for the band, because we all 5 keys, silly story, but driving 4 other guys around with it was just like on roll, so we ended up saying, let's get rid of the rhythm guitar player, and I'll learn the part. And that's how I got my start as a guitar player. So I came, and I'm singing at the same time. So that's so the main keys now, just because I'm just doing a track all the time.
I'm sure in the Nick last week.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
And I didn't know that he produced the first 5 hours.
Are you kidding? I had no idea either.
That's all I know. I was on the set that there.
There's also producing a couple of other people as well. I think it's
I love that. That's one of my favourite records.
And I started watching the detectives, the drums still really out shit.
Right.
2 guys from Graham Park and Rooms.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think so.
And they came in and started doing this fade kind of reggae thing, you know. And he said, I'm going to write this up, destructive and loud. So that was the whole thing at the time, the reggae.
Right. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Big drinker, big smoker, big everything.
And what's it called? Is it? You can text it to your email.
The guy took an out band is production manager for
Yeah.
So then, and like a lot of like.
How does it feel?
Yes.
Oh, how does it feel?
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff.
No, it's Joy Division. Yeah, Joy Division, and then it became New Order.
New Order.
Yes.
He's production manager for New Order.
Oh, right.
And he lives in Australia and Texas. And he only does production manager.
Yeah, she said
And so this is he's just come back from New Order Not it's so
Sure. Oh, okay. What filter to use? Actually, what came up in my feed, I was going just looking through Twitter last night. It just has become sort of horrible these days, but there's a song of the day thing that I follow, and it was Joe Jackson. And I thought, I haven't thought about Joe Jackson in so many years, but he's still out touring, he's still doing his thing, more like a jazz thing right now. But some of those songs, those early Joe Jackson.
That first record was just
Amazing.
guitar sound and all that stuff. It was just like cutting. Actually really good. It was just
Oh my God.
classic pop song.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really. And also, we did the first two Chrissy Hines.
Oh, really?
She moved from Ohio. So we spread out and this was our
Right. Did you see that mini-series called Pistols, which is about the Sex Pistols from kind of like Jones's perspective from the get-go to forming the band, the whole Malcolm McLaren thing. And Chrissy Wayne was a huge right there with them because she had a big thing with Jonesy at one point, talked to him, and you never know. But she was working in the Vivian Westwood boutique when they all Jonesy came in and they started the whole Pistol thing. So it was really interesting.
Talk about that.
Right. Cool.
It's interesting from a lot of seconds, right? It's interesting from the start of the record company, manager starting a record company, people, artists.
Sorry, just check it out.
Managers into deals, you know.
Nice to meet you.
Interesting.
Okay.
I'm going to start learning it. Very excited to see it.
Then they
Yeah, I was going to
Good, good.
And then I was just
It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Sick heat from like three. Good on you.
nearly 8.
Yeah, no, it's a good presentation.
And Cheryl, they just like me. And she was
No, so I'm going to go through some of the presentations from the last 2 days as well.
Cheryl helped me.
So insurance and songwriting is
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, like that would show. I know. I would do that, but I kind of want to be like.
Okay, hold on, maybe I'll just see what's available.
I'm like, yeah, I'm really good at privacy, but I kind of want to be. Yeah, I want to be the artist, but I don't like them. Yeah, I can't. I don't like the privacy that you don't get. I want to be able to have my own life without all the time. Yeah, but I want to be like the non-artist as well. Really? Okay. Doja Cat, like they're all like chocolate roll. Oh, I like it. At least you can make up with a plastic.
So we can see your face this time. I did the online thing with you a few years ago. Yeah. Cheryl said, I already had a shave, now you can see it.
I thought this is going to be perfect for Christmas panel on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a bigger for everyone now. It just kept growing as well. And so, I just thought,
That's great.
I know.
Right, can we all grab a seat, please? Pam, hold up the fork. Grab a seat. Are we all here? Are we all here? All right. So, we have two amazing gentlemen here to join us today. I'm going to impart some valuable and amazing information to you, which will change your careers. I'm absolutely sure of it. So it's my a great honour to introduce Paul Gildea. How do you say your name? Gildea, thank you. And don't mind, Paul, if I read this out. This is Paul is a 33-year member of the amazing band Icehouse. If you don't know who they are, well, you should, and maybe do. Paul was inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame in 2006. He has also played guitar for James Rain, Rick Price, Vika and Linda, Daryl Braithwaite, as well as many others, and toured the US for 2 years playing guitar and singing with the Little River Band, which is amazing. Paul was also senior producer and general manager of several Melbourne music and post-production studios before starting his own, Monkey Seat, in 2005. Paul has worked on scores of radio and TV commercials, DVD productions, short films, animation, documentaries, and computer games. He also managed the platinum-selling band Motor Ace, as well as Triple J, High School's Unearthed winners Stonefield, and producer-musician Michael Painter. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Paul Gildea.
Just Paul.
That's
you
true,
can,
isn't it?
you can call me Mr. Gildea or Sir.
Especially if your name's Luke.
I thought I'd start off today by giving you some perspective what I like doing on artists, because there's been a number of things that I've done, and they call it kind of a portfolio of careers. Yeah, we're singers, we're writers, we're producers, we're whatever, but there's a number of things that we do. So this is a gig I did 4 weeks ago. In fact, it's the last gig I did. And the reason I want to show it to you is it'll give you some reference to the band that I've been in for the longest period of time, which is 33 years, which does make me, yes, extremely old. But it also includes a couple of people that you will know, because they've just won various talent competitions on television, as in The Voice and stuff. So, this was at the MCG. This is just gone away. Let me do it again. What's happened? What have I done? Refresh. Is that me? Or the, let's try this one.
Yeah, that's it.
No. Will it play? Doesn't want to play. It's really blown.
Very talented in the music industry, just not really good at technology.
It was working a second.
It was, yeah. When he went to sleep, it might have actually.
I think it's offline.
Yeah, there we go.
So it is. I'm just going to
Into your own personal. It's not. Yeah, there we go.
It's not my fault, all right?
Excuse me, can I just get you to pull that door across so that the glare is
Yeah.
not right on the screen? Thank you.
Better?
Yeah, a little bit
Is that
better.
okay now?
Can you just stand there and block the light?
Well, talk amongst yourselves while we do this. Oh, you're connected now, it looks like.
I am?
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah. Let's try it.
I am. So, let's try it again. Let's start from here. I don't know what's happening. Sorry. Just needed to go back to the start, and which is there. Hopefully this will work.
There we go. And don't touch anything.
Celebration of the T20 World Cup, bringing generations and cultures together. Please welcome William Barton, Mitch Tambo, Tando, Jarky, and on the 40th anniversary of the release of the iconic Australian anthem, Great Southern Land, Icehouse.
So he's actually standing, as you can see, on the top of the.
Oh wow.
He's chained to the top of the wall.
Oh my god.
That's scary.
Is this volume?
Yeah, you can get it on there, yeah. It's on the left hand side.
Oh, my favourite.
You guys know this song? Yeah. So this guy wrote it when he was 23.
Wow.
So it's 40 years old. The other thing to note is he just had COVID, so he starts really with his voice in a really weird position, and probably mentally kind of going, oh shit, I've got no voice. But you'll hear him singing something. It's only 2 songs and they're short. You'll hear him singing something. obviously, I'm not sure which dialect you
weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago.
She's 13, she won the voice. She's 13. stop. More importantly, I wanted to show you those two girls that got involved and how they got involved. So we only met them the day before, and we rehearsed them the day before. And sort of knowing, because I've managed a lot of I managed a band of 4 girls, sisters called Stonefield, and the youngest was 12 when I started managing them. In fact, I took them and played Glastonbury when she was 13. She's the youngest person ever to play Glastonbury. And the oldest was 17. She was the singer and the drummer. So it was really important for me to go to talk to these girls before they play. Well, I felt it important to say, just have fun, you know, just whatever. If you hit a shit note, it's gone. You know, I didn't say shit. I said, if you hit a bad note, it's gone. It's lying. It's just gone, you know. The most important thing is that you come off thinking that you've had fun. Yes, of course, trying to sing in tune. But we've got great, I knew all the tech people that were mixing it and doing that, and they're going to make you sound great. And it's going to be over like that, you know. And they did. They just, you know, made it look like it was fun. And it's amazing what a difference that makes to the perception of people's performance when they're watching it. So, that's that, and that's who I am. Since then, it's, as Richard's already said, I've been managing bands. I like something, I want that, I want this to go. Find your glasses, you do really well, I'm like, all that range. Sorry. Slideshow.
You might need to close that open window first.
Yeah, I think I did.
There you go.
Play it from start. I'll just play this so you can see what I've written there, and I don't care. Come on! I just wanted to, that's really going. There you go. I really wanted to give you an introduction to the music industry as an ecosystem. So essentially, accept whatever it is that your expertise is, whether it's a singer or a writer, whatever the case may be, or producer. And in some cases, it might be all of those 3 things. You have to interact with the business if you want to be successful. You don't have to be successful. You can make 500 CDs and sell them to your friends and your family if you want to, and work at Bunnings during the day. And that's fine. That's an exercise of what it is that you're good at and that you love doing. But if you are going to interact, then this is what the music industry is. Record companies, publishing companies, agents, managers, publicists, venues, festivals, all of those. Digital service providers are what we call Spotify, Tidal, and they're the new record shops, basically. They're where you go to find your stuff. You don't go to the record store unless you want to buy vinyl, yeah? But they're there. Aggregators are the people that get you on there. They're people like Ditto, what's another one? There's a
CD Baby.
Yeah, CD Baby, all of that stuff. Social media platforms from Twitter to Twitch. And I have a friend who's a guitar player, and he works for Twitch 3 days a week. He's a guitar player and he's also a composer. He's signed to overseas and he's just finishing his record, this is amazing. But Twitch found him, he's a really good communicator, and he sets up and he did his whole album live on Twitch. Like, this is what am I going to do, what am I going to turn here? He didn't do it completely. He needed someone in Denmark to make a decision on what word to use in the chorus completely, but he involved them. And so it lifted his social media standing considerably. Governments, big part of it, applying for grants if you want to go overseas or do whatever. And I've used 5 grants successfully over the years. Promoters at all levels, they're the risk takers, they're the people that say, yes, I'll put this on and I'll underwrite it, I'll put the money on, and I want you to do it. The risk takers and you. The performer, the writer, the producer, and engineer are all part of the music industry. It's a massive, big thing. So, what is an artist? More than just a great singer, musician, writer. All of these combine to create the artist, but it's not enough just to have a great voice. You've got to have and it's a great start. It's essential to artistry that you've got a great voice, or you're really good at your instrument, or you're a really good producer. But they're looking for more. It's not enough to be a great writer, but it's also a great start and essential to artistry. It's not enough, So what is it? What other things do we need? What do we look for? So in Bowie, as you all recognise there, you know that. And that's something that started and recreated itself over a 40-year period. Billie, the same. Billie came out standing for something. Now, she's an exceptional singer. Her brother's an exceptional producer. I'm not sure whether that would have been the same if they weren't hothouse, because they grew up in a homeschooling environment, as you probably knew. And Billie in particular stood for, I don't want to be objectified as a girl or as a woman. That's not part of what my message is, yeah? In fact, my message is anti that. I'm going to look like the depressed young teenager. Well, guess what? Your voice pretty much defies that. It belies that, because you're one hell of a great singer, and you're only going to be a better singer when you're 50 than you are now. But, so great singers, great songs, great performers, something for different. That's what we look for when we're looking as fans. Yeah? We look for that. Easy identifiable, usually because it's their voice. It's the change that you make when you get into the car and you hear a song come on. It's the voice that you hear, not my guitar sound, not anything else. Sorry for the rest of you who are great musicians, whatever. And you go, I either love this song or I hate this song. So you either turn it up or turn it down. It's the voice. Yeah? Then it's the song. And nothing has really changed since Frank Sinatra started singing and we became essentially the first sort of pop star. So the sound, the emotion, the imagery, the power, the vulnerability of the lyrics all feed that. Yeah? And we can either go, I identify with that, or this makes me want to dance, this makes me angry and I want to drive faster, or I just can't get this, I just have to listen to this song every day, 20 times every day. We are essentially fans as artists of music, yeah? What do record companies look for? Exactly the same thing. That's what they're looking for. What are the kids buying? That's you and me, we're all kids. What are the mums singing in the car? Well, it's probably Pink, you know. What are the dads hating? Everything that's released after 1990. So record companies sign singers and songs. And they always have. Now, those singers and songs might last for 12 months, like Psy did, yeah? Or they might, like, you know, or more recently, what was the girl who had out the monkey song? With, you know, unfortunately, Where's Tones and I Gone Now? Was there going to be a career in that? Or it might last for 40 years like U2 has. But that requires that you keep feeding that machine great new songs and a great story, yeah? A great underlying story. So it's not always the best looking, Ed Sheeran. It's not always the best singer. But it's always something that will stick out from the pack. Now in Ed's case, he doesn't fit the classic Justin Bieber mold, really good, spunky looking young guy with a great voice. But he has great songs and a really distinctive voice. And there's something charming about him. Yeah? He looks a bit like a turtle as well. Now let that get back to Ed, it's working for him. You know? So it's compelling, it's interesting. Ed also has incredible, I saw him singing with Beyonce, and who's that guitar player's name? What's the guitar player? I can't remember his name. Anyway, incredible. He's like the new Hendrix sort of thing. Doing a Stevie Wonder song, and it's like, man, you have got enormous, I won't use the word, to be able to guts to go up and do that. And he did it, and he cut it. And I think it was Higher Ground or one of those songs, you know, the song that I'm talking about. And he did it. That's an enormous amount of, I'm going to put myself out there and do it. Gary Clark Jr. was the
Yes.
Right.
It was like, wow. So record companies sign singer and songwriters. There's 3. There used to be 6 when I grew up, but there's now 3. There's Warner Music Group. Guess what? They don't call themselves record companies anymore because they don't sell really records. They sell artists, they sell downloads, they sell commercial alliances like Sync and young Luc is going to talk to you about that a little bit later on. And they sell merchandise, and they sell concert tours, and they sell all of that stuff. So I want you to think of them as just one part of the music industry. You do not have to get signed to them. Oh, you're really seeing that, and I'm seeing this. So doesn't matter. That's fine. I don't know how to reverse that so they get the full.
No, I don't know either. So
Everybody can see it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So Sony music artists include everyone from Bob Dylan to Tash Sultan. It's like they're looking at what sells. They're not necessarily going out with a format and going blah blah blah. Now under Sony Music Entertainment, there will be a whole bunch of labels. One will focus in on pop, one will focus in on goth, one will focus in on dance and all the subgenres of dance, one will focus in on whatever, folk, new folk, or whatever you want to call it. And all of those labels sit underneath that company and are promoted by that company. Universal Sibley, all the people from Justin Bieber through to The Weeknd. You know, well, I suppose they're similar, or Drake, or they were. And they also, they were the artists for The Voice. So I worked for The Voice. I worked on The Voice for a year as a manager for Universal. And then Warner, everyone from Madonna to Panic at the Disco, from Led Zeppelin to Madonna. Do you understand? It's like, what works? Now the back catalogue of Led Zeppelin, then I'm about to come out with a new record, is worth a lot of money. Because right now, how many Led Zeppelin or U2 songs are being played around the world? And they're all collecting royalties. Yeah? Major record companies have worked always on this basis. 90% of all records, 90%, in fact 98%, pretty much 90% fail. Now their value of failing is a long story. Well, how they look at it and say it's failed is a long story. But you might have done reasonably well and sold quite a lot, or got a lot of streams, but they'll look at it and look at their KPIs, their key performance indicators, and say, actually that's not working, we're going to let it go. Now, they are major international conglomerates. They have different expectations than you do. Do you understand what I mean? So they might be wrong for you. In fact, quite possibly they are. They're the wrong thing for you to be working with. But when something does work, they're very aggressive in pushing it. Yeah, whether it's Dua Lipa, as it is at the moment, or whoever it may be. But a significant force is catalogue, which we talked about before. All the back songs of Ed Sheeran, all the back songs of the bands that are still making money and or are going to be covered by other people. They're being saved by the rise of streaming. They died when a thing called Napster came in, which is when everybody decided that they were going to share. This is 1999, so a long time before many of you may have been born, but they started to die off during then. In fact, if you look at this stuff, they had to then go, well, how else can we start making money? And they did it by doing this, introducing something called the 360-degree deal. And that's what most of them, and also some of the major independent, that's a confusing thing, also some of the big independents started doing this. I want a part of your recording, I want a part of your publishing, I want a part of your sync, I believe you did a sync, yes? Yeah. I want a part of your sponsorship and any branding that's going to be done with it. Yes, that might be clothing, that might be vodka, that might be whatever. Yeah? I want a part of your touring and live. I want a part of your merchandise. Interesting to note that someone like Adele did all her first, I think, 4 records with a company called X-Ray. I think it's called X-Ray. XL.
Yeah.
Thank you. X-Ray Touring. So yeah. XL was an independent, which is an independent label, until she signed everything off to Sony, because XL was distributed by Columbia Records. You may have heard of it. Probably the first major record company that started. When she signed to Sony and she gave them everything that she owned at that point, she signed for £90 million. But she created that. She created those songs. She created that persona. Now, I reckon it's a pretty good deal. Because she then went around the world on a massive tour where some of the tickets were $800. Yeah. You know, so if you consider that on a country-by-country basis, how much did she recoup? You know, off against that $90 million. Yeah. Considerable amount. But that's what they want. Because it used to be that they only made their money from recording. Publishers made money from publishing companies. They were distinct, although you'll find that most major record companies also have a publishing company, because they know that's where the money is. You might be finished as an artist, but the legacy of what you've produced is still making money for a long, 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 long time. Thanks, Cy. You know, thanks all those people who have only had one hit. I'm Just a Teenage Dirtbag Baby is my favourite. Does anybody remember that song?
Yeah.
Love that song. No, I don't have a record, but love that song. Beautifully produced, perfect timing for it to be out, all that stuff. Independents, in Australia at least, include these. Liberation Music is part of the Mushroom Group. 11 is part of is owned by a guy called John Watson. John Watson manages Gautier, he manages Missy Higgins. He used to manage Silver, I was going to say Silverfish, but it's not, it's a Silver Chair. And pretty much that's how he started. He was an executive at Sony Records, and he left to manage Silverchair when our friend, the singer, was 15, and started 11, the music company. He also now manages Midnight Oil, who you may know as a sort of heritage act like my act, but massive. Due Process is the guy who owns Splendor in the Grass. So that group of companies have gone, okay, we have a record. They used to manage a band called, he used to manage a band, him and his partner used to manage a band called Powderfinger, you might be aware of. And they went, we'll record it ourselves. We'll start our own label, it was called Due Process. And then look after our own publishing, we're going to do our own touring. So we started this company called Secret Sounds, and that became our touring company, which now tours a whole bunch of other bands. Then he started a publicity company because he was unhappy with the way the record companies were looking after his bands. That's called Secret Service. And he just expanded into a whole bunch of areas. He's now since sold that company to Live Nation, which is a huge, big touring company, or 50% of it to Live Nation, but he still owns Splendor in the Grass for 50%, for 49% of Splendor in the Grass. Both here, the one that's held here, the one that's held in Tasmania, and I think there was one in Western Australia for a while, in Victoria as well. So there you are. Future Classic are sort of some of the groovier guys. They've got a lot of the sort of, they've got people like, who's the young guy who's an electronic music artist, Flume, people like that. They're very good. They signed Flume when he was in year 12.
Wow.
And he did all of that record at home.
Year 12, wow.
So, in many ways, they're the most dynamic and flourishing environment for you to go into because they don't have the big KPIs that the majors do. They don't have an office in New York that's calling upon them to say, well, if you haven't shifted this many units, you know, we're going to let that artist go. It's like, but the artist is doing really well here. You know, we're building a profile for this artist here. Why let them go now? Well, because we have to cut a certain number. It's just numbers for them, you know, and that could be the reason. Hence my idea of saying to you, maybe don't go to them straight away. Maybe do a lot of it yourself. Maybe start your own record label. You know, maybe most of you know how to use a digital audio workstation by now, of some description, I'm assuming. Would that be correct? So I teach at Boxall Institute, which is a big music department in it, 400 students in it, and nearly all of the students know how to use a DAW of some sort, whether it's Ableton, some Pro Tools, certainly Logic. Yeah. If we talk about Logic, we've got to go back to Billie Eilish because all of that first album was recorded on Logic, which is a software digital workstation software available for $199 US. And out of that, I'm sure he went to the studio and had it sweetened and fattened and a whole bunch of other stuff. He won 6 Grammys. So, in terms of doing it yourself.
And they did those records in their bedroom, right?
Yep. And on the two of us. Yep. So, there are a number of numerous partnerships and deals between the indies and the majors. So we talked about due process. And they go out through Universal. So they go out through majors. So the value of the majors really is that they're global. They have offices all over the world. So if you want to conquer America, or you want to conquer Europe, at some point you're going to have to interface with them. Your decision is at what point. Do I want to just go, oh, there's the silver bullet, I signed with them and everything happens? Well, we have people in this room, and I've managed people where that's been the worst decision we've made. Because you're then in the system, and you're either right for the system at the time or the end. In many ways, they look at what's the final destination? What's the bay at JB Hi-Fi or the bay on Spotify where you're going to exist, and do we have one of those right now? If we don't, we'll fill that spot with whoever we think is the most important person for that. Now, that doesn't say anything about you personally or what you've done. You may have done nothing wrong. There's just someone slightly better. It's not fair. Okay? Let's all get that in our heads. But the indies are a little bit more touchy-feely than that. A little bit more sensitive than that. And in many ways, they are the A&R antenna. They'll come along, they'll see you playing, they'll want to work with you. They don't need to make the hundreds of thousands of dollars that maybe the majors are throwing you back straight away. So a conversation with them to help get you right might be better. And various managers, including John Watson, including our friend Paul Patico from Due Process, have started their own independent labels. We can go through this. So this is just who the highest paid selling musicians in the world. In that of last year, so I've just updated all these stats for you guys. And it's in that top 10, would you believe, is Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, and Stevie Nicks. Now, none of them are under 70 for a start. All of them tour widely, but most of them made a significant amount of money by selling their publishing. They sold off their publishing, the rights to their songs, their intellectual property. You know, the stuff that puts down, not the recordings, although in many cases the recordings, which we call the master, but there are 2 rights. Your idea that you've written down, and then the recording of it. If you've recorded it and you want to release it, you own both those rights. But generally you go, I've written all of these songs, here's some demos of them, and a record company records them, and they own them. Yep, they own the masters. Remember the kerfuffle with Taylor Swift? Yeah. That was exactly that. Where Scooter Braun, who manages Justin Bieber and a whole bunch of other people, went, I'm going to buy that company, which means I own the masters. I don't own the publishing, I don't own your ideas, I own the masters, and if I keep selling records and getting streams, I'm making money.
And then she went and re-recorded all the records again.
Correct.
And she just got an agreement from iHeartRadio that controls every major radio station in the US to only play her versions.
Taylor is a doer. Taylor is a smart business person.
Yeah.
She's somebody who's intercepted that.
Wow.
Beyonce's another one, doesn't have a manager. I mean, why does she need a manager? She knows who she is, she knows what she's doing. I'm going to find the best social media strategist, I'm going to find the best publicist, I'm going to find the best lawyer, I'm going to find the best accountant, and I'm going to put a team together around me. Now, I know we're not at that stage yet, or you might be. But if you want to look that up, we can look it up later at some point. So, the industry was falling apart, and this graph shows you, I really like to make this bigger, but this graph over here is what record sales used to be back in 1999. That's physical record sales back in 1999. This is now streaming. That's how much it's changed in the last 20 years. Yeah. So the industry had to reinvent itself. And in many ways, a lot of musicians, although there's always been independent musicians, that song, We Can Get Together, was written totally independently, 41 years ago. So, and released totally independently. But it's changed. This also shows sync rates. So sync rates are the ones in blue, or download another digital, total streaming, total physical. Synchronization is yellow, or what it's worth. And as I suggested before, young Luke's going to tell you about the importance of synchronization and how it can help you develop your career. But yeah, you can see how it shifted. And almost killed off physical, but physical started to come back. But the industry at its lowest point dropped to be an industry worth $15.1 billion worldwide. It's now doubled that. But an interesting stat, and something that you should pay heed to, particularly in terms of synchronization, is that the the gaming industry is bigger than the music industry and Hollywood and television worldwide put together.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No.
That's how big the gaming industry is. And two important things that have happened in the last 2 years that you should be aware of is that a company called Tencent, who own a huge social media platform that you're all aware of called
TikTok.
It's a Chinese company, TikTok, bought 20% of the Universal Music Group, which is the biggest record company in the world. And you've got to ask yourself why. Because there's such an interface between how you discover music and how it sells. So they bought 20%. And another thing, have any of you used Bandcamp?
Yeah.
Okay. Bandcamp was bought at the start of this year by a company called Epic. Oh, actually by a company called Unreal Machine. Unreal Machine. That was called Unreal, whatever it is. They're a gaming company, and they create. Sorry.
Unreal Engine.
Unreal Engine, yeah. And they're owned by a big organisation called Epic Games. They bought Bandcamp. Why? What's happening here? What is the motivation of why things seem to be aligning here? Yeah. So I don't expect you to remember all of this information. I'm just trying to show you how things are changing and how your way to finding your way through to some kind of discovery can be different. Now, someone like Travis Scott would look at Fortnite and say, I can't play to 100 million people anywhere else other than by being in a game. Yeah? But I can play to 100 million people on a game. So, is this the way forward? Here we go, sinking. We won't do that again. We won't bother with that one. So, how much do people make with streaming? And I do apologise because these figures are 2019. Well, in 2019, Dean Lewis made nearly $5 million from streaming. Do you know that song that he had out that went to #1 in the US? Everybody know Dean Lewis? What was the song called? Someone sing it for me.
Is it Be Alright? Be Alright?
Yeah, mate. You're all right, mate. Something like that. Yeah. So yeah, $5 million. Post Malone, 6.5 billion streams.
God.
41.5 million US dollars. Spotify's streaming rate is 0.04. It's actually less than that, but it's 0.00437 cents per play. Yeah. But Billie Eilish during that would be more now. Made 26 US million or.
Are these figures master and publishing or just master?
No, this is just from selling on. Well, when you collect off streaming, you collect all. You collect both rights,
Right.
because they will collect your publishing as well,
Right.
and your neighbouring rights as well.
So
So
if they were just a songwriter on it, they wouldn't have earned nearly.
yeah, so they've done deals all around the world for all of that stuff. And initially they went, I get it was just what, there's nothing to see here in terms of publishing. It's like, hang on, you know, yes there is. So yeah, they had to go and do deals with people. So another chart, sorry, it's chart full, but you can see there that Amazon Music pay the most. Right down to our friends here from 10 Cent, TikTok, that's how much they pay you for streaming, 0.00040, whatever that is, but not much. But they are probably one of the most important things, particularly for pop music, in terms of discovery. Yeah? But they're going to pay you bugger all. But if you get a lot of attention on TikTok, it doesn't matter that they're not paying you very much, because you might be making a lot of money out of it. I'll make this stuff all available for you guys. I don't want to get in, it feels too much like a class already. Yeah, last year the industry grew by 18.5%. So it's on the up. COVID probably helped that. Certainly helped gaming. Gaming grew by 12.5% or something like that. Massively worldwide, because people are at home. Australian music industry is worth 568 billion, so it grew as well. It's up by 4.4%. But it's a 15-year high. So you are entering an industry that's on its way up. It's good. It's just, how do we get there? The flip side of that is, there's a lot of songs. And as you know, Spotify gets something like 60,000 new releases every day. So it's 14.8, I did the bit maths, million releases per year. How do we find it? Remember when we talked about being different? Being something that was, I can really latch onto, a motive. Well, with Ed and with Billy, you've got that, haven't you? I mean, I know they're superlative, they're incredible, but you've got that. You've got a story, you've got an emotion, you've got a feeling, you've got a song, you've got a voice that you add. Or you don't. But there's no aim, there's no, you kind of about it. It's pretty much mine or not. So yeah, 15-year high. Melbourne is the highest. Most of you are in Melbourne. There's more gigs in Melbourne than any other city in the world. That is not even per capita. More. This is figures that came out and they were done by APRA in 2014. They were then done again by Music Victoria in 2017. More gigs. That's everything from you sitting down with your acoustic guitar playing Stand By Your Man or Cry Me a River or whatever it is. Right through to I don't know if you're aware, but Guns N' Roses just came through the week before. Black Crowes were here the week before. Kings of Leon were here. There are so many gigs in this city. Now, there are a lot of people that are coming through. So, 12.5 million patrons attended this is in 2014. I know it's a long time ago. 62,000 live music gigs. In fact, the live music industry before COVID was worth 4 times. It was worth $2.2 billion. Over 4 times what the sales of records were, or streaming was, together. So you can see why a lot of people went, I have to be a live musician. That's where I'm going to make my money. We're nearly there. I promise. I just believe you have to understand the business to an extent. Yeah? That doesn't mean I've got a manager, I now understand the business. Because I wouldn't start with a manager. If I wanted to do live gigs, I'd start with an agent. An agent they have to get you gigs or they don't make any money. Yeah? Similarly, manager. But agents make their money by knowing what the market is and knowing where you fit in and who you should support and what you're worth. Well, in Queensland, you're worth a lot of money. And I can see from the analytics at the back here that you get a lot of hits out of that territory. I'm going to bump you up to $500. I'm going to bump you up to $5,000, whatever it may be, depending on where you're sitting at the time. But you have to persevere. Yeah? So I've been a long time with that band. That band's been very good to me for 33 years. I joined it when I was 31, which makes me really old. Older than your grandparents. But I wasn't ready to give up. I'd been to uni, had a degree, had all that stuff. Always been in my bands, trying to get a deal, and Richard, we talked about it. Got a couple of deals with my bands, the bands broke up, all of that shit, It's like so hard to keep it together, to work, to interface with other people. You have to be prepared to network, which you do right now, which is excellent. You've got to be prepared to get it wrong and try again. It's a bit like me saying to those gals, just have a good time. This will go past so quickly. But you're going to play to, you know, we didn't go through the numbers with them, but, you know, there's 80,000 people out there watching, in the ring, and 80,000 people who are from Pakistan make a lot of noise, I've got to tell you right now. But they were aware, particularly Janaki, who's the young girl who's Indian, that this was going to the subcontinent, and as a result, it's a huge audience, like in the billions, you know. So don't fake it. People get it. They do get it. It's like, I can see through that. This is going to last one song. It's bullshit. It's not, you know. And there's nothing wrong with having what we call a portfolio career, which we kind of started this discussion with. Oh yeah, I'm a musician. I also work in this cafe. I do that. You don't have to be defined by that, but you can always say, I am a striving musician. This is what I'm doing. I still consider myself a musician, but I'm a lecturer. I've been a band manager. I worked on short films and games as a producer for 9 years. I owned a company that did it. So I've had a portfolio of different roles, but it all still comes back to me doing the thing that I love most. Yeah? Resilience rewards the truly talented. So, 4 things. It's not fair. Never was. Yeah? So I can be an Olympian and get a cold the day of or the day before I'm about to run the 100 metres, and that takes 3 1,000ths of a second off my time, but it gives me a bronze medal. You know, it's like that close, but didn't get there. You know what I mean? Or someone walked in, or someone changed positions at the top and went, no, don't like them. That's not going to work. You know, it is a business of popularity. Don't forget that. There's no getting away from that. You know, and it is a business of stats. How many did you sell? How many streams have you got? All of that stuff. It's a competition. So perhaps start killing each other. No. So it is a competition. To a certain extent, yeah? But it doesn't have to be that if you want to work together in terms of writing. And what's a lot of the futurists call the genre crossing that's happening at the moment. There's a lot of genres that are crossing into each other at the moment. It's not just pop music and hip hop. That started 25 years ago. You know, there's a lot of others. And it's huge. It's a massive global industry. But still dwarfed by government. So, always go with your eyes open, but the silver bullet, i.e. the big record deal that comes from Sony or Warner Brothers, ring you up going, I'm going to sign you for 5 albums and blah, 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 and it's like, Mum and Dad, you know, this is huge, I've made it, but it could be the worst shit decision you've made in your life. Because they might say, this is what I want from that boy or girl. This is where I see that person. Yeah? And to you it's like, no, that's not who I am. That's just that song. In fact, it might have been better if I never played you that song, because that's not really who I feel. Pam's laughing, but you understand. It's like, that's not really who I, you know, that's not really who I am. In fact, I'm defining that. Performance, writing is a process of defining. I feel like it's class time, so I'm going to stop. Work hard on your instrument, songs, profile image, it's free. And this is the process of doing it yourself, i.e. writing, i.e. going to lessons, i.e. working with other people, i.e. recording that stuff, is a process of definition. It defines you. You'll listen back to it and say, I can see that, but it's not really what I like. Or you might listen back to that and say, I love where that sits, and I love the sound. And my voice with piano is great. Or my voice with lots of loud guitars, i.e. Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette, everybody knows that, is great. My pop songs just sparkle. It's like finding the right makeup. Not that I use it. But it's like, not that there's anything wrong with it. But it's like finding the right makeup. What makes my eyes pop?
Paul,
Yeah?
can you tell these guys about what you were telling me last time about Alanis Morissette and about how she had...
Alanis was signed to... So do you all know Jagged Little Pill and Alanis
Yeah.
Morissette? Yeah, okay. So Alanis was signed to a Canadian record company, failed in the first 2 records. She knows a lot about this. And then was signed to a publishing company, I think based in the United States. Hooked up with a guy called Glenn Ballard, who was a music producer. And if I get any of this wrong, Pam, because you might know the history better than I, Glenn went, oh, okay, I'll work with this girl. She came in with all of those songs in rough forms. You ought to know, all of those songs, you know, isn't it ironic? All of those things. And worked in his apartment, I think in New York, on those songs. And he tells this great story in a podcast where he said, the You Ought to Know, because I'm going to remind you of the dust you went when you went away. She's angry in that song. He said she was waiting for a cab. She was flying back home to Canada. She was waiting for a cab, and he said, I just want to get this vocal idea down before you go, you know, tonight, so I know what it is. So she put one down with angst about the cab and missing it and all of that stuff, and it was an angry song, and that's it. That's the one that you listen to. When she came back, he said, darling, there's nothing I'm going to do to change this. Probably didn't say darling. He probably said Miss Morrison. Nothing else can really change this. This is exactly what I want. And that is the drive, the emotion, coupled with the technique that you've got. But it's always going to be about what do you get out of that song. And that's all I'm going to say. Very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Paul will be here all night. So if any of you guys think of any questions, feel free later on after the show, whatever. You know, Paul's got so much knowledge. So anything that you think of, definitely keep that in mind and he'll help you out later on. All right?
Thanks,
awesome.
Lisa.
Thank you.
So we're aware of how long you guys have been sitting down and you must be shattered, but we have one more person to introduce you to. We're going to chat with him for a few minutes and then we're going to have lunch and continue on with our co-writing today. Luc, come on up.
I was going, wow, who's that?
It's my pleasure to introduce this guy here. We met, I don't know how long ago, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
We're introduced by a producer friend of ours in the UK. I was in America, and Luc came over the first time, and I took him around Hollywood and everywhere in LA, and we've been working together ever since. He's become a really good friend, and I'm just going to say a bit about what you've done, and then we'll chat about your journey. But Luc was relocated to the UK at the age of 21. He worked with artists including Amy Winehouse, Corinne Bailey Rae, Sam Smith, Kasabian, is that right? Kasabian, Jack Bruce, Darren Hayes, who you all know, Star Sailor, and numerous X Factor and The Voice contestants. He started out working primarily as a songwriter on the creative side, collaborating with artists and producers such as Chris Neal, the guy that we met through, who has produced Celine Dion and some pretty big artists, Marcella Detroit, Terry Britton, Tina Arena, who you all know, and Kate Sobrano. He wrote the theme tune for Australia's Channel 7 TV program Tonight, and the Princess Rainforest Project campaign song, Eurogay Pride theme song, and the title track to the film Darkness. He then went on to bridge the gap between music creator and working with a creative team at Peer Music in London, and in sync licensing, linking artists with commercial brands and helping them build their careers and career, in TV and film. He's currently working with the Australian talent management team Yo-Yo. You met Jude the other day. He works alongside Jude and artists including Chris, who we also met, and Isaiah Fibrace, and Jael, is it Weena?
Yep.
Yeah, who's really awesome too.
She was on The Voice, wasn't she? She won The Voice, or came second last year.
Exactly. Welcome, Luc.
That's enough. That was really painful.
I know, it's hard, isn't it, when
Sit over
somebody's
there.
reading your bio. So, tell us about how you got started as far as the creative side and why you went into the business side.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, just to finish off on what what Paul was saying before, with Alanis Morissette, the bit that I was hoping he was going to say was that they were creating this album and no one wanted to pick it up.
Yeah.
No one at all. And then it was Madonna that said, no, I like this girl, she's standing for what she believes. I think it's a really good album, we should try and make it work. So everyone in the industry said no.
Yeah, seven major companies, and then Maverick,
Which is her label, right?
Yeah. And,
So
What does that tell you, right?
what does that tell you?
You don't want to fit in, you want to stand out.
So I think that's got to be the most important thing to talk about today, because. So sorry, if we go back to where your question. Sorry, I'm a bit sidetracked. So keep me focused.
That's right.
Yeah. So I moved over to London as a 20-year-old to make my own music. Signed a record deal. Was doing everything to please everybody, and then they decided it didn't work, and so I dropped. So then went into songwriting, and I found the time when it would work the best was when I'd say, forget what you guys think, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm just going to go and make it happen. So I think, that's probably the starting point, was to sort of say you have to sort of work out what you want to be, and we'll talk about Sam in a bit, but that's probably the most important thing, is to really be authentic for what you want to be.
Yeah, so you met Sam Smith pretty early on in his career.
Yeah.
How did that story unfold?
So we used to run a music night in London, and we had Ed Sheeran used to come to, Ed was there, Ellie Goulding, obviously there were lots of people, but then Sam also came up, and Sam was larger than life, or certainly a big guy, and was really insecure about his own voice. So he came up and we had to coach him on stage, get him on stage to sing. And then his mum approached me and said, we start working together. And so he would come to my house for vocal lessons. And I remember him sitting there going like, don't look at me, like, Luke, I want to sing, but just don't look at me because I'm too scared. And I remember him saying to me, this was a turning point for us. He said to me, I can't sing in that low part of my voice, Luke. And I said, what? Why is that? And he said, it sounds ugly. And I was like, well, why does it sound ugly? Tell me more. And he said to me, Luke, I'm a gay man. Gay men don't sing in a low voice. And I said to him, what are you talking about? Like, this is crazy talk. And he was like, I'm too insecure about that part of my voice to let me have it. So I said to him, let's explore that part of your voice. And I will never make you sing there, but I don't want you to have that insecurity, because as you get more successful, that insecurity gets bigger and bigger, and then it becomes like you're a devil on your back. So we would sit and sing over and over again in my house, just going, he'd face the stereo, he'd face the wall, and then we got him looking in the mirror, and now, it was great when he did the James Bond theme tune, because he started in that lower register. So for me, that was like fantastic. He took ownership of his own voice. I've got another artist who is now doing very, very well. We sat down, he was like, Luke, like we talked about it, every time we were going for a big gig, he'd sabotage it somehow. And we got to a point where I said, what is wrong? What's in your brain that you're so insecure about? You know, you're a beautiful looking young guy, you've got a great voice, everything's great. Anyway, we worked it out. He used to be a professional footballer, and they used to call him Daffy Duck because he had too big a feet.
Oh.
So he thought that because his feet were too big, he couldn't sing. And the moment we sat there, we were like, oh my God, how ridiculous is this? So we got over that insecurity, but then, you know, I know with Adele, you know, I can't sing because I'm too fat. Bang, she did pretty well. For me, it was like, oh my God, I'm short, I can't sing. When I met Prince, he's like here. And I was like, oh God, that's my insecurity gone now. Prince can do it. So I think from a management point of view, the most important thing is to go, let's look at those insecurities that might be holding us back, and let's deal with it now. Sorry.
Yeah,
not
well,
that on a tangent.
music
Sorry.
is therapy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, and creative people are have got a lot of insecurities. We're tender people, you know.
And we pour our heart out there, and we go like, please judge it. Like,
Well, it's part of our jobs to open ourselves up and express ourselves. But confidence plays a big part in that, and
you
becoming comfortable under our
You don't
skin.
start with confidence. You know, you build confidence up, and I think I got to work with a guy, an artist called Luc Floreani a few years ago, and he said to me, Luke, just hone your craft, get really good at what you do, and your people will find you because you're being honest and you're being true. So I was going to ask, the proportion of producer songwriters and singer songwriters, what is it in here? So-
Artists, songwriters?
Singer-songwriter.
And singer-songwriter, yeah. And then producer, so we're all pretty much all singer-songwriters?
There's a couple of producers, songwriters here. Yeah, Melinda.
Okay, so if we're singer-songwriters, then we've got to tell our story. And like I know Ed said on a number of occasions, he said songwriting is like turning on a rusty tap. You turn on, you let all the rusty stuff come out, and then you get a couple of gems, a couple of real pearls, which are, that's your hit songs. But like we work with Linda Perry. Linda Perry wrote I Am Beautiful for Christina Aguilera. She wrote Let's Get the Party Started for Pink.
Love Linda Perry.
She's just Dolly Parton. She worked with Dolly, or did Dumpling, the stuff with Dolly. And she said to me, Luke, it was my turn to have another number one. I've probably written 5,000 songs. And we all sit here as new songwriters going, I've written 3 and God, I don't think it's working. So it's almost, I've got to have fun with it, but you've got to, like, you know, we were just talking before, sorry, I don't know your name. Lacey. And you were saying, I'm not sure about songwriting, I don't feel strong about songwriting. I don't think that's a major strength. Yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, if we were going to run a marathon, not that we would, and that's not what I'm saying.
We can do it.
No, we absolutely fucking aren't. But what we would do is we would start by walking around the block, and then we'd start by, I don't know, something else after that, and something else after that, to build up to that. And I think as singer-songwriters, we've got to write and write and write and keep writing, and then let those songs that you just, you know, when you've been writing and you go, oh, I don't even care about this song, I'm not going to judge it, and then that's normally the best one, because that's the one where you're telling the truth, and you're not trying to, like, I work with some other songwriters, and I say to them, don't try and be clever, don't try and be funny, and don't try, just let it fall out of your face, like let that song come out, because what we often do as songwriters is we'll go, I've got to make this sound clever because I want to show people that I can write. I want to show people that I'm, you know, like pretentious, and I can tell you about how the wind flows and that. No one wants to hear that. They want to hear Ain't No Sunshine when it's gone. You know, they want to hear, you know, if you think of the songs that really connect with you. So that creating the artist. And with Sam, if we jump on Sam, when we took Sam to labels, everyone was going, he's not going to work. He's not commercial enough. He sounds like a black man in a white guy's voice. He's also big, tall, wears dresses and makeup. No one's going to have him. He doesn't fit.
Exactly. But that's good.
That's it. That's what we want. But he doesn't fit. You're absolutely right. So what do? We created his own lane, and we said, right, get out of our way. We're doing it anyway. And then everyone said, oh my God, maybe this is working. Now we'll jump on board. And now everyone wants to sound like Sam Smith.
Yes. We spend so much time trying to fit in to this world when really what we need to do is to stand out and be different and be ourselves. There's only one of us. Be yourself.
And the way you do that is by writing. And by writing and writing and writing and not judging. And I think with all of the songwriters I work with, I say, right, this month is a month of no judgment. You've got to go out there and you've just got to write, and I don't want you to look at that song again, I just want you to write it. And if you're getting stuck, like writer's block, perfect. That means you're judging yourself too much. So what I'd say then is, what we have a couple of little tricks we do, which I'll say, put on 2 different pairs of shoes and walk around the block and feel how stupid you feel, like as in one of each shoe.
Yeah.
And then you go, actually it doesn't really matter. Like, no one, like it doesn't matter. I've just got to write from my heart. And then that's where your hit album comes from. Now, if you look, getting back to Paul's Billie Eilish, they were homeschooled, both her and Benny were both homeschooled. Now, we just took Isaiah confidentially, it's not known yet, but we just took Isaiah over to Miami, and he was working with Pooh Bear and Skrillex, who is Justin Bieber's team. And we sat down with Pooh Bear, and he said, I don't listen to any commercial music, I just listen to what's in my heart, and that's what I write from. Now that's someone, he's written with Beyonce, he's written with, well, he did Justin Bieber's last album, and he said, I've got to get in my own head and get my own sounds, and not be worried about what anyone else is
Pooh
putting.
Bear.
Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
He's a producer, like not a teddy bear or anything like that.
So there's no Eeyore around?
Yeah, we'll talk about that
We'll
later.
talk about that later.
So to see how all these guys are, I guess it's like they're not trying to follow the trend and try and be part of the cool kids. They're just doing their own track. And the way they do it is they write and they write and they write. And they do stuff like this and collaborate, because by collaborating it's bringing out a different part of your personality, and you have to risk a bit. And I think I always say to our guys, you don't have to show me any of the songs until you're ready, but I want you to pour your heart out.
So you have been working in sync quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
in the last few years, and you manage and been developing an artist, Dan. Can you talk to the guys, because we had sync day yesterday, and they were sort of introduced to they can have a career and sing.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what you've been doing there?
Okay, so where our sync journey started from was every artist. I started doing some research, and every artist that broke in the UK in the last 4 years, it must be now, have broken through getting a sync. And so a sync is having a song placed on a either advert, TV show, whatever it is. And so it was like, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we get our songs into sync? And so I started looking at what were the themes of the songs that were being used? What were the tempos of the song? What was the production like? But more importantly, as the artist that I was working with at the time, it was like, what songs from artists that are like him have been synced? So, for instance, Dan is 6'20", and
From the Faroe Islands.
blonde hair, blue eyes, rippling six pack. In fact, like
Rippling?
it's just like brothers.
Physically rippling?
Twins. Don't laugh, that's not right. In fact, security, get her out. So we were looking at what is an artist like that, what other artists like him have synced, what songs have they been done by? Because if you look at Dan and then you put Ed Sheeran there, and Ed Sheeran, our short little ginger puffy fella.
Poor Ed's getting
No, in a nice way. He deserves it. Like, anyway. He used to sleep on our floor. I remember Ed when he do open mics, and he'd sit there and everyone would be like, "Oh, Ed's here, Ed's here," because he had to travel down from in the Midlands to come and sing at these music nights. And then if he didn't sell enough bracelets that his mum made for him, he would have to sleep on someone's floor. But otherwise he'd have to take the bus back, and so it'd all be like, shit, no, it's here. No,
I did hear he slept on the many
Yeah.
people's
So he's-
couches. Yeah.
he's
Over the years.
Wow.
And look at the determination
Yes.
there.
Amazing.
like 3 nights a week. He'd travel an hour and a half on a bus down to do an open mic and then go back again. So, and his mum used to make "I Love Ed" bracelets. You know, like you know those.
Oh my God,
you know
that's
those.
so cute.
Oh, what a woman.
I'm sick. You know? Anyway, I think I've probably still got a few "I Love Ed" bracelets. Sorry, getting back to sync. So therefore, the type of songs that would be used in sync for Ed as opposed to Dan were both very, very different. So then it started to look at things like what are the themes? Are themes all female empowerment songs, or is it a romantic love song or a platonic love song? Like, what sort of songs is it? So what we did with Dan is, because Dan had signed to Pia, and then it was like he was making a lot of money from live gigging, and when COVID happened, that stopped. So we started really focusing on sync and say, what can we do to start to create these songs, and what do we need them to be about? So we did a lot of study on that, and then there's a website which I'm a major fan of called TuneFind, which you can actually go in there and you can pretty much put your genre, male, female, you know, what colour hair you've got almost, like
Really?
the age group, like the whole lot, and then it'll bring you up all the songs that are like you that are in sync. So we did that, and so Dan now has done very well out of COVID, and I think the song still, the important thing is the song still has to sound like you, and it has to sound like your brand identity, but it's got to be accessible to sync. Which comes back to, before you can get a deal, before you can even look at getting management or anything like that, you've got to know who you are as an artist and what do you stand for, which comes back to the songwriting. And it comes back to, what do I want to be as an artist? Because so many times we'll have people come to us and say, please manage us. And you go, but there's nothing to manage. Like, or I don't know what you are to manage.
Or you haven't got the songs yet.
Or you haven't got the songs yet. And it's
How important is the song in the whole grand scheme of things?
Oh, we've discussed this with Linda many times. A great song is a great song is a great song, and a great song will find its home. But it's all about the song. It's all about the song. Even, I think that's even over the artist side of it. I remember talking with one of my career coaches, so a guy that was helping me sort of get to that next level. And I said to him, I don't feel like a great singer. And he said to me, who are the great singers that you think are out there? And I said, well, Celine Dion is incredible, I think. She's, vocally very talented. Marvin Gaye is incredible. I think Michael Jackson is one of the best showmen there's been. Aretha Franklin. And he said to me, Luke, you're going to lose for sure. You're never going to be a black woman, and you're never going to be a black man or a white woman. So my expectations of being a singer were unrealistic. I had to fail because I can't sing like anyone else other than me. Which gets back to that, I had to face my own insecurities and go, do I actually like my own voice? It's a big foghorn voice that just goes straight out front. Like it's not gonna, I'm never gonna do these trills, and I'm never gonna do anything like that. It's just not me. Yeah. So see how you have to, the most important thing is to stand up for what your voice is and let that come out. So I would challenge you, we have, and all of you, I just know that we were talking about this, yes. But we have to get our songs out. And I think you have to be writing every day. If you were going to be a runner, you have to run every day or do something every day. Otherwise, you're not a runner.
Flex that muscle.
Yeah. And if you're a painter, but I don't paint because I feel insecure about it, sorry. And then you're not a fucking painter, are you? sorry.
No, it's all right. So yeah, you've done a few things in your career, and recently got involved in this movie project of yours that it was your niece, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Sure. So,
are you allowed to?
Yeah, a little bit. So, my 15-year-old niece came to me with a 3-page script that she'd written, with sort of big cursive handwriting with love hearts over the eyes, so it wasn't very detailed at all. And she said, "Uncle Luke, can you turn this into a film for me?" And so this was about 7 years ago. And we've now turned it into a $75 million animated film that we're working on at the moment. And Pam's written some great songs for us, and Linda and Chris. And so we've got some. I guess it's escalated, but it sort of started with those 4 pages.
Started with an idea.
Right.
And you read it and you said, maybe this could be a movie.
Yeah.
And you pushed her into...
So now she's written a book. She's now 18. And she's written a book, yeah. And we've got the script, so we flew to Alice Springs and sat down with the tribal elders from some of the indigenous camps in Alice Springs. And we wrote the script. And we've got Shane Jacobson. Do you know? Yeah, so Shane. We've got Hugh Jackman. And we've got some great songs. And Isaiah will play the lead.
I think Tina Arena.
And Tina's done some too. Yeah. So it sort of starts like that big, and when everyone goes, God, Sam Smith, I could never be like Sam Smith. But he didn't start there. He started here, and just inch by inch, I remember taking him to the studio and holding his handbag while he was sort of getting ready to sing, and Luke, I've got to warm up, and Luke, don't leave me. And we'd have to stand in the vocal studio with him until he got comfortable. But all that is part of the process. You don't start there. You start here. Start here. So
it's nurturing and practicing all the rest of it. Yeah. Well, we don't want to take up too much more time just because these guys have been sitting down since 11 o'clock. Luke is going to be staying with us in the next couple days. You're going to be here, right? To spend time with us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So brilliant. And what's wonderful is all the people that you think, oh, I'll never be able to get to them. It's lovely to hear their stories and to know they're just, wonderful people. Because I think everybody in the music industry is amazing and beautiful, all musicians and, just the best of the best. That's my opinion. But anyway, so once again, Luke will be here. We'll have lunch. Then you guys are going to split off and do your writing, and then we're going to do the showcase. But we'll be here all night. So any questions that you think about to ask Luke, really think about that, because today's the day.
I want to say one more thing, if I may. Something that Kaz found last night, a little quote that is so great, because this business is full of rejections. Not good enough. No. Pitching songs or trying to get a record deal. You have to grow a tough skin to get through it. If you really, really want a career in music, to make money from it and do it for a long time, it's tough. The reality is, you hear a lot of no's. But this quote just really did it for me. So thanks, Kaz. Yes is the destination, and no is how you get there.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's lunch.
Lunch.
Kaz, darling, do you want me to pause this or?